The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has read the Riot Act to foreign missions based in Nigeria, banning them from transacting in foreign currencies and mandating the use of naira in their financial businesses. The Commission sent an advisory to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stating that all transactions at foreign missions should be conducted in naira. The Commission explained that the directive is part of efforts to strengthen the naira and tackle the dollarization of the Nigerian economy. Arising from the report, some have queried the appropriateness of the directive given that the missions are sovereign entities under international law. But can the EFCC ban foreign missions from transacting in dollar? To shed more light on this directive, we are now joined by Wilson Uwujaren, Acting Director of Public Affairs of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Good morning, Mr. Uwujaren, and welcome to the morning show.
But very quickly, from the introduction, I don't know whether you had the introduction by Ayo. Let's start on a note of clarification. The statement credited to the EFCC that the EFCC is going to stop dollar transactions at foreign embassies. Now, the relationship between Nigeria and the embassies in Nigeria is governed by the 1961 Convention on Diplomatic Relations and the 1963 Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Immunities and Privileges. Those are the enabling laws. And what those laws mean is that these embassies, they run within their premises a sovereign environment. And, they are not governed except where, a diplomat goes offline and will be declared persona non grata. They are not necessarily governed by municipal laws. So that's why we need a clarification. Is the Nigerian government telling the embassies in Nigeria that they cannot conduct their consular businesses as they wish, in line with the provisions of the 1963 Convention on Diplomatic Immunities and Privileges?
Well, thank you very much for that question. I think this is an opportunity for the EFCC to make a little bit of clarification concerning some of the media reports that we saw a few days ago. So much screaming headlines: EFCC bans foreign embassies from transacting in dollars, EFCC directs foreign missions from transacting in foreign currency. I don't think it's the place of the EFCC to ban or direct foreign missions in the manner or way they handle their finances. Like you really rightly mentioned in your introduction, we recognize as a commission that foreign missions, as representatives of their home countries, enjoy certain diplomatic privileges by international law. And the commission is not our place to want to interfere with some of the privileges that they enjoy under international law. So it is not within the remit of the EFCC to either ban or direct foreign missions in the manner or way they handle their finances. What actually happened is that the commission, over time, observed that a number of the foreign missions, by the manner and way they handle their consular services, a number of them have engaged third parties to carry out consular services on their behalf. And those third parties have been invoicing in dollars. Some even went to the ridiculous extent of determining the exchange rate of the naira in the course of their transaction with Nigerians and foreign nationals based in Nigeria. And we thought that that practice conflict with extant laws and regulations in Nigeria, and we felt compelled to bring this practice to the knowledge of the missions through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As a point of clarification, the EFCC never wrote any letter to any foreign mission in Nigeria. The advisory that we issued was to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and what we did was essentially to bring this practice, which we believe conflict with Section 20, subsection 1 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act. That section of the CBN Act actually makes the naira the only legal tender in Nigeria, which presupposes that that is the only acceptable currency for doing business within the borders of our country. And so if any entity is conducting transactions using another currency, such a practice conflicts with the provision of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act. And so the onus was on the EFCC to convey this information to the missions through the Foreign Affairs Ministry. And that essentially was what we did. We did not write to any foreign mission in Nigeria.
Thank you so much for that clarification. Also contained in that letter to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the conduct of transactions in our foreign offices, foreign missions abroad, Nigerian foreign consular services abroad. I'd like you to also clarify that in terms of how will this be implemented in the event that this is taken forward. And in addition to that, if you received any correspondence or response from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as to whether they would accede to your request and when this will take effect, if they do.
Well, I think the Foreign Affairs Ministry have the protocol for engaging with foreign missions in Nigeria. It is within their competence to determine the ways and manner in which they will transmit the information to the various missions in Nigeria, and I'm sure those who are charged with that responsibility are handling it. Regarding the first part of your question, I don't think we as a commission have problems with our missions abroad in the manner in which they handle their consular services. We don't really have any problem with that. No, what we are really concerned about is the
Yes, you had mentioned, I said it contained in that letter, you had mentioned that transactions in consular offices abroad should transact in naira. And I was just asking with regards to if they've complied with that, or how soon will that be? Because a number of people, we have diasporans who watch. Go ahead,
I agree with you. It's too early to determine. I think it's too early to determine compliance or otherwise, because it's like the media got wind of this advisory even before action was taken on it. So we are still waiting for maybe the Foreign Affairs Ministry to do the needful, and then going forward we'll be able to determine the level of compliance. But essentially our focus is to discourage the dollarization of transactions within the local Nigerian economy. And if you have been following the activities of the EFCC, you would have noticed that we have a special task force on naira abuse and forex malpractices that is working across our zonal commands throughout the Federation. And the focus is to discourage people from transacting in dollars, because the naira is the only acceptable means of transaction in the country. And we want to ensure that people who in the past feigned ignorance of any law that prohibits this, to be aware now that there is a law that bans this. And so you cannot claim any ignorance of any law going forward if the commission move against you.
These third parties that you say help all these foreign missions to collect, because they don't do the direct visa business any longer. It's just for the back-end finality. That's what they say. But all the processing goes through third parties. But most of these third parties are not even based within our jurisdiction. So what of that conversation? Most of these third parties that help them process?
Well, from our own point of view, even though we recognize that by the rules of engagement in terms of how you deal with foreign missions in Nigeria, they have privileges, they have immunities which they enjoy under the law, which we cannot tamper with as an agency of government. But from our own perspective, we believe that these third parties agents that conduct business on behalf of these missions, you can't give them the same kind of privileges that the missions enjoy. They can't take benefit from that because they are not covered by the immunities that the foreign missions enjoy. If you are a Nigerian entity, for instance, and you are contracted to carry out business on behalf of the embassies, I think you should also be subjected to the Nigerian law, not the foreign laws.
But you see, the point I was trying to make is that I was having this conversation with Ayo. Do you know that most of these foreign third-party companies that process these visas, they now have subsidiary companies for executions in Nigeria. So it's not even directly them. They now have foreign subsidiaries. I mean, no, they have subsidiaries locally that now, so they are like two middlemen before you now even get to the visa, I mean, the foreign mission itself. So with these very convoluted business practices, how is it possible to navigate and everything? Because when you are talking, this address is not totally to the foreign mission. You are saying, okay, the foreign mission should implement. But what about the aligned companies that some of them are two or three of them?
Well, essentially, what the step that we have taken is to bring to the knowledge of those who are involved in these practices that some of these activities that they are carrying out conflicts with existing law in Nigeria. And then the onus is on them to take dressing, so to speak. That is a language that we use in law enforcement, to take corrective actions and ensure that their practices are in alignment with laws and regulations that exist in our country. If they fail to do that, then the Commission will have no option than to enforce the law as it is.
Well, Wilson, your explanation is adequate for me. I mean, what the international conventions, 1961, 1963, say is that diplomats, foreign embassies, are expected to respect the laws and regulations of the host country. So that's a no-brainer. It's a basic issue. And to the extent that you have said that the Foreign Affairs Ministry is the body that the EFCC is engaging, that's also acceptable, legally and, according to procedure. Because the Foreign Affairs Ministry, part of its 8 original functions is to interface with foreign embassies and engage in consular services. About 8 original functions we don't need to go into. Now, let's leave the foreign embassies. It's not only foreign embassies that charge in dollars. How about NIMASA? How about the Ports Authority? How about landlords? How about supermarkets in Nigeria that are all charging in dollars? The dollarization of the Nigerian economy, contrary to the CBN Act of 2007, which you quoted Section 20 thereof. What is the EFCC doing about that? Because MPA will tell you that they conduct intellectual business, international business. NNPCL will tell you that, look, the sale of crude oil is international business. And there are persons who have said, even our crude oil should be sold in naira. Would the EFCC go that far? Or this is just supposed to be a symbolic gesture enforcement of Section 20 of the CBN Act?
No, I don't think it's not a symbolic gesture. I understand the question you have asked, especially pertaining to the activities of NIMASA and the NNPC, for instance. We know that too, yes. Those two agencies of government carry out very, very important transactions on behalf of government that relates with foreign entities. The nature of their business, we understand that they deal with multinational companies, and Nigeria relies basically on receipts from these two entities to fund programs within the country. We are all shouting now about forex crisis within the domestic economy, and that's because we are not earning enough foreign exchange to back off expenditures locally. So we are not looking per se in that direction. What we are really concerned is about local entities that have no nexus at all with dealing with foreign entities in terms of transaction, but are invoicing in local currency. Now we have situations where hotels are billing in dollars, where schools are billing in dollars. Just recently, I was reading in the newspapers and I read a story about a school in Lagos that was charging over 42 million for pupils in kindergarten and nursery school. And those people like Dr. Abati, who can afford that, they will gladly pay and their children will go to such school. But for somebody like me who cannot afford it, I will not send my child to that school. And the EFCC, for instance, will not go to that school and query them, why are you charging 42 million for tuition for kindergarten? Because they are doing that in naira. But if they were charging in dollar, they will have an issue with us. And that is what we want to discourage. Well, no matter what you want to charge in Nigeria, you are free to charge, but let it be legal tender, the naira, that should be used for transaction. That is the focus of the EFCC. We are not quarreling with anybody, the amount you want to charge for your service, but let it be in naira.
All right. I want to still come back to, or add to, or move further in from Dr. Bati's question. I don't think you've answered with regards to, there are some quick wins. Beyond writing a letter to the foreign missions or through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there are stores you can go to even in Abuja. There are supermarkets currently that you can walk into right now. If you want to, we can send you the names after the show. Why are you not going to those places rather than even before you, I mean, in addition, side by side, you know, these bigger fishes in quote, why not go to these shops? And these schools that we are aware of, we know of schools, not just the 42 million naira one, but schools that charge in dollars in this very Nigeria. So it almost seems as if it's selective because there are low-hanging fruits that we can deal with in terms of, you know, de-dollarizing the Nigerian economy so that we can strengthen the naira as well. So that's perhaps the big question, is that there are many people who flout this. They publish it very boldly in papers, advertising rent, you know, properties for rent or for sale, and they put the figure in dollar terms. What is the EFCC doing about that?
I agree with you that some of these practices have been going on before now with nobody calling anybody to order. But the EFCC has taken a decision. The EFCC, under the new chairman of the commission, Ola Aluko, they have taken a decision that we will no longer accept this practice. And that is the reason why he set up a special task force to discourage dollarization. And that task force has been working. If you've been following us, just recently you heard about over 1,000 accounts that was frozen in banks. Those are not the regular accounts. The commission is working both quietly and publicly to discourage this. So
if I wanted to, so if I want to report, sir, if I go into a store, and I see them quoting in dollars, who do I report to? I think that's one of the things, because we don't want it to. We want people to charge in naira. So who do we report to if that's the case?
You can report to the nearest office of, if you are in Abuja, for instance, we have a zonal command, you will say to there. It's a popular place. Everybody in Abuja will know that, and our headquarters is there. We have 14 offices across the federation. And most Nigerians now are also very, very savvy in terms of the use of internet. The EFCC email is there, and we also have an app that is called Eagle Eye. That app, all you need to do is to download it from the Play Store, and once you have it installed in your phone, anywhere you see any wrong thing going on, just take a snap, upload it, and send it to us. Somebody is manning that desk, I will activate it, and the intelligence department of the commission will pick it up and will work on it. And Nigerians, anywhere you are, it is your responsibility as a citizen to inform law enforcement if you see anything that is untoward. Don't wait for an officer of EFCC to come there before you report. And it's a civic responsibility that we all owe this country. Anywhere you go and you see things that are happening that is not ethical, let us know about it.
Okay, I would like to...
You have a situation where some people are not even charging in dollars, they are charging in other currency or other countries. Let us have this information, and EFCC will work with such information to deal with the situation.
You know, so this enforcement committee that you've set up, where in the EFCC Act, you know, supports it that you can, you know, go ahead and make such of enforcements like this so that we get that legal angle correctly again? Because I know there are many Supreme Court judgments that severely restrain the power of the EFCC. That's number one. Number two is, why is it so difficult for the EFCC to go after really people that engage in this, you know, over-dollarization of our economy, people that any small proceeds are converted into dollars and all of that? There are still schools that are still charging. I mean, a school, I know the case is in court, but a school still returns some dollars to the EFCC at some point that has been dragged back and forth. And as that school stops charging in dollar, are there not schools that still charge in dollars in this country as we speak? Are there not shops and supermarkets and all of that, like has been clearly stated? So, I mean, these are the cases on ground. People are saying, why are you not going after the real people? Why is that the low-hanging fruit? Just like this task force too, that is dealing with cases of people doing the naira flunking and things like that. Bob Risky, We saw how it was docked. The other person, Cubana, is Cubana chief priest is trying to get a deal, you know, as regards the court and all of that. So people are looking and saying, are all of this within the remit of the EFCC? Now, what is really going on here?
Well, regarding the first leg of your question on the task force, whether we have the legal power to set up that kind of task force, we do, because the EFCC, by Section 6 of the EFCC Establishment Act, the Commission is given power to enforce all economic and financial crimes laws in Nigeria. And those laws are many. I can't begin to list all of them now. In any case, the special task force that I talked about is not an independent body. It's a quasi-unit within the EFCC. So it's not a new creation that is detached from the EFCC. It's just an interim body created to deal with a peculiar problem that we are dealing with. And once they are through with that assignment, they will be dissolved. They are regular operatives of the EFCC, but they have a special focus. And they are being given all the necessary resources that they require to deal with this situation. And on the issue of whether we are serious about actually tackling the issue, I think you have to give us the benefit of the doubt. There is a commitment to check this trend. And I want to assure Nigerians that in the next few months, they will see the difference. We are not going to overlook anyone. Any information that is brought to the knowledge of the attention of the EFCC, and the ones that we discover by ourselves, we will deal with them. You mentioned the issue of the school in Abuja that is part of a charge that we have filed against a former governor. I don't think I can talk
I know, the case is in court.
The case is in court, has been filed it's in court, so I can't go into that. But that also suggests that the Commission is serious about dealing with this situation.
Mr. Wilson.
And for those who are still, engaged in that practice, because we can, for the simple fact that we can take that action, should also give an indication to them that the time to take dressing and do the right thing is now.
Mr. Wilson, you see, the question is the real perpetrators of this dollarization. As are you people? Is it because they are in high places? Okay, you will say because, okay, your administration is a new one and all of that. The real perpetrators are the people that changed dollar during election. We saw a lot of them. You people just went to the place that time. They were opening, sharing dollar. People just went to the place. You stood there like Lugovo. You were just looking at them. Nothing still happened. There was no real, apprehension of those people. These are the real people that are changing millions of dollars. Politicians, go after them. Why is it difficult?
Well, Rufai, we are doing the bit that we can do in the circumstance. If you come to Zone 4, you will say in Abuja now, you will at least appreciate the fact that it's no longer business as usual. You can't even see people trading and selling naira openly the way it used to be. And that is because of the action that the Commission has taken. We have also prosecuted a number of people for that and secured some conviction in this regard. But the truth of the matter is that those big-time people that you are talking about, you may not be. We have done some cases that has to do with politicians taking funds from Treasury and then exchanging it with BDC. And if you have been tracking our cases in court, you will have seen some of those cases that involves people moving cash from Treasury of state government, exchanging it through Bureau de Change and pocketing the resources. Some of those cases are in the public domain. That also shows that the Commission is not idly about that.
Wilson, I would like you to talk to us.
I'm with you, sir.
Yes, I would like you to talk to us about efforts being made by your office, Public Affairs Department, with regard to public enlightenment. For example, I mean, now it's a big issue now. Everybody knows that naira plunking violates the law. You can't abuse the naira. But are you aware that the practice is still continuing? Everywhere people have parties, they say, no, EFCC cannot touch us. This is cultural. It's part of our culture to spray money. What are you doing about public enlightenment to let people know that ignorance of the law is not an excuse? And the second point is about this dollarization thing. Are you also aware, and what are you doing about that, that to spend dollar is a status symbol? In some of these parties, if you say naira cannot be abused, All these people are struggling to even feed themselves abroad in diaspora. They will come home with $1 and they are spraying $1. They will not spray up to $20, so, but they want to be seen to be spraying the dollar and all that. So how much effort are you putting into public enlightenment to remind people that, look, the law is the law. And if you are not careful, the law will come after you. And you cannot come like Portable and say after God, it's government. Oh, please, forgive me if I have done anything. Please, can you address this public enlightenment side to it?
Well, as far as the issue of culture is concerned, I don't think spraying and mutilating our currency should be a practice that we should continue to encourage. I don't see any other country in the world where such practice is permissible, and we are determined to change that. In terms of enlightening the people on to change this so-called habit, I know habits die hard. We have launched a campaign in the media, especially on television. If you have been watching some of the major networks, you will see some of our jingles that are still being aired, aim at discouraging people from spraying and stamping on the naira. We are also very active on social media because we believe that some of these actions are actually being perpetrated by mostly young and upwardly mobile people who see spraying as more of a status symbol and an opportunity to exhibit wealth irrespective of how such wealth are gotten. So we are very active in social media in terms of trying to educate people that, look, you can't continue to do this. If you do that, this is the repercussion that will come when the law catches up on you. And the feedback that we are getting is that the changes have started to occur. It might be a little bit minimal now, but the trend that we are seeing is highly positive. Now you see people when they go to parties, they are no longer spraying overtly. I saw some skits and some pictures in social media where people keep a big bag by the side and they are dropping money into a bag instead of spraying it on people. Even though that also may not be too good, but at least it's better than spraying and stamping on the currency. I believe that if we can continue with this sensitization and back up with enforcement action, over time, this culture will fade away.
All right, thank you very much. I just downloaded the Eagle Eye app that you mentioned. And I think like Dr. Bati had mentioned with regards to public engagement and awareness, it's something that maybe to look into a bit more, because here I see that it's a very simple process. If you wanted to take a picture and report an incident or inform the EFCC, one of the first things you guarantee is confidentiality, and the second is fairness to all. A number of people might be a bit reluctant to do this because if they might feel like they would be found out as to who reported. What is the guarantee that people who report will be protected, their identity would be protected, and they would not be, there's no way to be found out? Then my producer said to ask you that, is there any whistleblower fee for people who report, people who are shops or organizations that are transacting in dollars?
Well, in terms of protection for those who report to the commission, if you look at that app, it's optional. You have the option either to reveal your identity or not to disclose your identity. So if you are skeptical about what could happen to you, remove the issue of disclosing your identity. All we want to get is the information and not who reported or otherwise, except maybe you want some benefit from what you have reported. Otherwise, anonymity is guaranteed. Even when you disclose your identity, I can assure you that EFCC will never betray any informant. In fact, the law that establishes the commission also makes it an offense for any officer of EFCC to reveal the identity of an informant. And if that occurs, we have established protocol within to deal with such practice. And in my over 18 years of working in the commission, I have never seen any incident of any operative of the EFCC betraying an informant. And we have a lot of people bringing information to the EFCC, and nobody has been exposed because we know the danger involved in betraying those who trust you with information. And without people having the confidence to bring information to you, no matter how hard you work as a law enforcement agency, you will not be able to achieve results because you can't be everywhere. You rely on the people to give you information. And once you betray that trust, nobody will come forward with information. So we are mindful of that. The other question about whistleblower, there is an established protocol for whistleblowing. If you give a whistleblower information, first of all, we have to verify whether that information is genuine. And if it's not genuine, you that is giving that information, you could be charged for giving false information. That's good. But if it's genuine and we act on it, we act on that information and recovery is made, you are entitled to a percentage of what we recover.
But you see, the thing is the fact that I remember when one whistleblower came out the last time, to pay became the problem. And also, so how are you going to give us the assurance that you are going to pay, and what's the percentage? Secondly, the second question I would like to ask is, your EFCC chairman himself talked about the complicity of some of your staff conniving, asking for bribe and all of that. He said it with his own mouth. So how are you sure that those staff that are conniving, if you do whistleblower information for a top politician or somebody, they will not go and tell at the back? Because even if your chairman say, I don't trust entirely most of my staff, you know, there are cases of connivance there. That's another case. So somebody is still asking that we should ask you, okay, this case of the EFCC be chasing all of this, they chasing people that are with dollars. They talk about this Dr. Uwujaren versus EFCC, where the Supreme Court severely limited the powers of the EFCC. So is this really within your purview? And a lot of people have been asking me to ask that question. You know, that's the constant talk here.
Well, as to whether it's within our purview, I think I've mentioned.
Yeah, you've quoted. Yeah, you've quoted the law. Yeah.
Yes, the law gives the EFCC power to enforce all economic and financial crimes laws in Nigeria. I want to underline the word all, without exception. And so I believe that we are covered by that provision of the law.
Also,
it is within the remit of the EFCC.
Also, is this also subject to that Supreme Court ruling of Dr. Uwujaren versus the EFCC? Is this also subject to that Supreme Court judgment?
I don't think there's any judgment that's taking away the power of the EFCC.
Dr. Uwujaren. Okay, because that judgment also that judgment also
business be in existence. That
judgment also limited some powers and, you know, cautioned. But most importantly, the confidence in the whistleblower payments. That's one question. Secondly, the fact of internal connivance has said by even the chairman himself that there are bad eggs among the EFCC. You can't deny the fact that there are no bad eggs.
No, we have to acknowledge the fact that the chairman of the EFCC was very frank in acknowledging that we have a problem within the EFCC in terms of integrity of some officers. And that applies to almost all organizations in Nigeria. There's no organization you will not find one or two bad eggs, and EFCC is no exception. We won't come here and hide that, okay, all of us in EFCC are saints. What he had acknowledged is that, yes, there's a problem. Are we dealing with that problem? Yes, we are dealing with the problem. Okay, do we have internal structures to deal with such problems? Yes, we do. So those problems are being taken care of, and I don't think it's a problem at all.
Thank you, Wilson. Even in hell, there are reports that there are bad people there. People who are already in hell, so it's part of the human experience. Thank you very much, Wilson Uwujaren, Director of Public Affairs, EFCC, for joining us on this show this morning.